Good afternoon again, and welcome back, Realty Pros, to another week of Porterhouse Realty Talks. We have had a tremendous time on Porterhouse Realty Talks over the last several weeks. We had Angela Skipper to share with us last week. She was going through our listings. We had Curtis to share with us last Thursday. He was going through buyer consultations. We've been working through our spring new agent training semester, and we will be concluded by the end of June. So as of July, our new agent training will be done for our evening sessions, and we will pick up in September. All right, guys. So welcome to everybody. Thank you guys for logging on today. We're going to be going through some housekeeping. We have so many exciting things going on at Porterhouse. You guys have done a stellar job at diving in and learning the systems and keeping up with all of the progression that's happening in your Brokemint system, in your, in our Boomtown system, and even the My House Porter platform. So kudos to you guys with your learning and keeping up with those. I just want to make sure that we tidy up a couple things as we're all learning and growing in those areas. We want to make sure that you guys are maximizing each one of those opportunities because they provide a tremendous benefit for your real estate business. Okay. Mr. Porter, I'm going to queue up my screen and start going through a couple of those. Would you like to share a couple of housekeeping things while I do so?
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yep, we can.
Good afternoon to everyone. So, we're really excited with Porterhouse that we have what I'm calling the Trinity of Success tools. With Brokemint, we have Boomtown, and we also have access to the myhouseporter.com platform. And so we're just really seeing you guys have a lot of success using those tools, but I really must encourage everyone to continue to train on those tools and become proficient at them, because the better you are with using those tools, as we heard Angela in her training last week, Angela really is getting it, and she's using the tools appropriately. They're going to better your business. One of the things that's really important also I want to just remind you of is that we've created checklists for you in Brokemint, not for you to go through after you've concluded your transaction, but to help you throughout the transaction. And many of the times, if you just would use the checklist, and Jasmine, I think, is going to do some work with that today. If you would use the checklist, it would not only keep you on track through the transaction, but anytime you encounter certain situations and issues, it also could help you resolve those issues very easily if you continue to, master using the checklists that are created for you and the tools that are there, because all of our documents, all of our board documents, for the most part, are there, and those that you don't have in there, you can easily upload through Maryland Realtor. I think it's, Realtor.com? What is it, Jasmine?
MDRealtor.org.
MDRealtor.org, there it is. So everything is at your fingertips, guys. You can literally, and if you download the apps and use the apps appropriately, you can literally do everything really from your phone. And there's some things that don't translate well in the mobile version to the computer version, but those things you just have to take care of when you get back to your house. But literally, we've written offers on our phones because we become proficient, and even ratified offers or accepted offers on our telephone, just using the apps or just using our mobile device. So we really want you guys to get better at that, because as time goes on, it's just going to make your business better. And once you start to have more of an influx of transactions and keeping track of those transactions, you're going to need to rely on those tools. And so it's better to start practicing them early than to, have that influx of business and then you're trying to figure out how to juggle all of those things. But the tools are made to keep you on track, to make sure that your business is successful. And I dare say nobody else in the industry is offering you not one, not two, but all three of the success tools that we have. And again, My House Porter is incredible. You guys are using it. is blazing trails. I mean, we've had so many closings this week. I think we've had more closings this week already than we've had in the last 2 months. So kudos to you guys, and those of you who are just going forth and doing all of the things that we knew that you could do. I know that you're getting leads from Boomtown. Mike Cooper's calling me more often, and we're talking about what he needs to do on his side to make sure that he's facilitating, getting more more approvals. I want to work with you guys, and I'm gonna do a training and a video on helping our clients increase their credit scores. And I want to do that, Jasmine. We had a meeting with Glennis Thomas. As many of you know, she's primary contact for Velocity, and we had a meeting with her Monday. And I was talking in general about how excited I am about the things that I've learned about helping clients improve their credit scores. And in doing that, some of her family were present. And man, it just became a really great conversation. So I want you all to use it if you having struggles with your credit, because we want you to purchase homes too and investment properties. And we're going to be getting into that a little bit more. But it's so many things that's coming down the pike at Porterhouse. We're going to have another huge influx of agents very soon. And we're just going to need you guys to be as proficient as possible, because you guys are the first partakers. Remember that. So we're going to be leaning on you, relying on you. Some of you are going to be getting phone calls from myself and Jasmine in terms of things we're thinking about positioning you to do, so that as we broaden our scope and we go national with Porterhouse and international, we'll be able to know who to rely on in-house. So that's what Jasmine is going to talk about today, just cleaning up and housekeeping and things that we need you guys to really focus on, so that as we grow and as we move forward, you guys are already well taken care of and can pretty much teach to the people that are going to be coming in all of the things that we do here at Porterhouse. And anything that we can do, if you have feedback, we always hear. Just please give us feedback. We need to know if the tools are working, if our affiliates or the people that we support are not supporting you. I need to know. We'll make changes. We don't mind making changes. But we think we have people that really have the heart of who we are as Porterhouse, and we want you to be well taken care of. You guys are Jasmine and I's customers. And we want you to remember that. So we want to make sure that you're taken care of, so that you can take care of all of the clients that are coming to Porterhouse. And last but not least, if you're not using your Home Snap app, get on there again. Go to your review section where they will actually go on Google, and it's a link that you can hit and ask your family and friends to boost your 5-star rating on Google, because that's where your leads are coming through on Boomtown. So you want to boost your 5-star rating. Just say, hey, could you rate give me a 5-star rating on Google? Please click the link if you have time. I'm really trying to boost my image in my business. It's nothing to ask for. People do it every day. So if you're not doing it, you're shortchanging yourself. That's all I want to say, Jasmine. I hope you're ready. I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. That was spot on. Guys, I want to start with what Mr. Porter was talking about expansion, because there's going to be a rollout that you guys are going to be very excited with regards to. This is our 5th year at Porterhouse International Realty Group. This coming October the 3rd will be year 5 for Porterhouse International Realty Group. So I just wanted to say that a couple times for you, because we have some very exciting things that Mr. Porter and I are working on behind the scenes for you guys. And if you've been here for a couple months, then you know that that's just the nature of what we're doing. We're always looking to grow, progress, and improve for you guys. So it's no different with what our plans are for our 5-year anniversary. That being said, we're looking at you guys. We have some tremendous talent in the pool of Porterhouse, and some of you, as Mr. Porter said, will be called on, because every last one of you has a gift and a talent and something, that will supply to your colleagues and the influx of agents once Mr. Porter and I go ahead and press this button in the months to come. That being said, position yourselves. We're going to shore up some things today to make sure that all of you have a working knowledge of the way that the systems, the checklist, and all of those things are supposed to flow. Mr. Porter and I got so excited to hear Angela go through those things last week, because just like Mr. Porter said, we're like, yeah, she gets it. She gets it. And we believe that a number of you get it. And we want for everybody to get it in this same way, because we need you to be proficient, because you guys are going to be leaders for Porterhouse as we continue to expand. So the first thing I'm going to go over is something that is simple to you guys, but a number of people kind of skip over it, and it makes it a little bit more challenging than it has to be in some of your transactions. We've created this so that it's seamless for you, and everything that we've done is intentional. So we want for you guys to just regard the intentionality behind it, grab hold of it, and be diligent to complete the items that we have before you. So you'll see on my screen, this is just a checklist, and all of us are familiar with this. So in Brokemint, when you get a transaction, you create it. If it's a listing, you create a listing transaction, and you're going to add your Maryland listing checklist, right? So what I'm going to highlight today is the order of this checklist, because whether this is your first listing or your 5,000 listing, this checklist is going to make you look like a consummate real estate professional, and it's truly going to separate you. It will take away all the questions, all of the uncertainty, all of the doubts, and everything that you have about what your process should look like and how to make sure that it's done masterfully every single time you complete a transaction. Okay. So I'm not going to read through each one of these, because you guys can do that on your own. I'm just going to highlight a couple pieces for you. In adding the client's information in the beginning, what I want to point out is on the right-hand side of the screen, when you click on this action item, you're going to see in some of these, you're going to see us elaborating on the right-hand side or explaining what the steps are or what it is that you need. So we just want to remind you of those things, okay? This listing prep, this and the next 4 tabs that you see here, whenever you see use forms, for those of you that are proficient, excellent, just take this as a reminder. For those of you that haven't done this appropriately just yet, be empowered, because when you click on this use forms, you're going to see documents in there. So just the way that it was prescribed and the way that it was explained last week, this is where your listing prep information comes in. And you're going to add information. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'll show you very quickly. This is how you access the documents that are inside of those tabs. So you just click on them and you're able to do everything that you need to do from there. Okay. I'm sharing this because we've noticed that a number of you are just going to documents, unsorted documents, and you're adding documents, when the way that we have created this for you is so that it's already done, and you simply click on it in order to use them, right? So you see your signed listing agreement, you click on it, and your documents are there for the first part of it. If you want to complete them, you click next and continue to go over. This next one, your agency disclosures and your property disclosures, they're already within your checklist. Everything is embedded there for you so that you can literally type the information into the transaction and have it to populate in all of your documents for you. So just be reminded that these documents are already built into the template, and you don't have to go to documents and you're unsorted and just add them one by one, unless it is something that is specific to your transaction that's not a part of like your boilerplate template, okay? So just wanted to remind you guys of that. You click on use forms in order to use the forms to add, delete, or adjust it however you need to, okay? That being said, your checklist. So you remember everything that you need to do, from your photography, your keys, lockbox, your seller net sheet, everything is right there for you. Even your instructions for ordering your yard sign is there. Submit it to Bright MLS. You see upload property disclosures into Bright MLS, and you're going to see some instructions on the right-hand side of the screen letting you know which ones to add, okay? And then you have a couple places where you're submitting an offer to the seller. This is so that you can go in and upload those documents, right? You have your contract template, you upload that, you send it on over to the seller, and so forth and so on. I'm going to skip past all of these, a number of these, because they're very self-explanatory, but I'm purposeful to highlight that each one of the steps that you need is there so that your transaction is perfectly completed every single time, okay? Want to point out for you guys, verifying that CD has gone out, receiving a copy of that ALTA, and uploading it. Okay. One last thing before I move on from this checklist is when you get your contract signed, your ratified contract, always remember to submit your documents for review. Okay. If I have my ratified contract here, if I go to upload, and let's just say I pull a document just for the sake of having something to add there, right? This, of course, is not a ratified contract, but I just want to pull something there. I'm going to hit this submit button right there. And once you submit it, now Mr. Porter and I receive it, or it actually comes directly to me so that I know that there are documents that need to be reviewed. I want to reiterate that one more time because some of you are doing a great job with putting the documents in there, but they're not being submitted, so I'm not able to review them in advance like we're supposed to do. So remember, once they've been uploaded, to hit that button and submit it. So once it's submitted, I'll be able to go through the document, let you know if there's anything else needed, whether it be an initial signature, additional addendum, or whatever it is that pertains to your transaction. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or any comments about the checklist and the uses of the checklist so far? All right, then I'm going to ask you guys this question. Do you guys find this checklist helpful?
Yes, I do. I use it.
Excellent. Do you find it easy to follow?
Yes, it actually, a lot of the stuff I think I kind of remember, but it helps me not to miss a step. So I feel like it's almost in order. And I try to review it, almost daily when I have a contract, just to make sure, I'm on task and I know what's coming up. And since I use that whole, the sheet I mentioned last week, this prompts me as to what to fill my seller in on, as far as the next step. So I try to keep them ahead of things so that they're expecting what's coming next.
Excellent. Anybody else? Dee, I saw your message in there. You said the checklists are awesome. I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? Because it's one thing for us to provide it, but it's a moot point if you guys aren't using them and maximizing their usage.
Jasmine.
Hello, Aurelia.
Hi, I just have a question about when you start dealing with different counties or, like you say, different states. Are the forms actually in there? Sometimes I, question as to whether, like if you're dealing with PG County and they're, asking for a specific form, can we rely on the forms that's in there to make sure that we have everything that we need? I'm trying to give an example. Like if they say, what's that? The system, the alarm system, the detectors. There are certain detectors that's required in PG County that you're supposed to have, and there's certain forms. Are those forms actually in there? Because sometimes I get very skeptical as to if I have everything that I need.
That is an excellent question, Aurelia, and thank you for asking that. Mr. Porter alluded to that answer a little bit earlier, and I will go into detail. So Brokemint provides us with the standard MAR documents. That's the library that they have made available to us, okay? I'm going to copy this for you so that I can go and show you exactly what they've made available. If we go into use forms here on Brokemint, I'm going to scroll on down to the bottom of the screen. And when you see add more forms, it's going to show you what Brokemint is giving us. Brokemint gives us MAR. So that includes all the brokerage forms, contract documents, and addenda. So everything that's there is what's provided by Brokemint. Now in your company library, however, Mr. Porter and I have provided you guys with some of the DC documents, your Virginia documents, and your standard Prince George's County, Charles County, and your SMAR documents. We provided you guys with a number of the documents from the counties that we see you work in most, so that you can add them from there by just clicking on it and adding it to your transaction. That being said, the answer to your question is no, Aurelia, it is not all encompassing. Brokemint does not have all the documents from all the jurisdictions and all of the states included in here. That's not their function, right? But some of these are here for our convenience. What you can do, or what we've done in some of these instances for you, and what we want you guys to take the initiative to do in your transactions, is when you have a transaction that is outside of the jurisdiction that Brokemint has provided us documents for, go to your mdrealtor.org and pull those documents in. Go to your Zip Forms account.
Jasmine?
Say that again.
Can you go to MD Realtor real quick so they can see?
Absolutely. So your mdrealtor.org and your Zip Forms, because when you're licensed in those jurisdictions, you're already paying for your documents. They're going to be available to you in Zip Forms, and all of them are available to you on mdrealtor.org for those that are licensed in Maryland. So you see here, if you were to look for your, let's see, click on legal, go to forms. If you're looking for statewide or local board forms, you click right there on your local board forms, log in there. And then it's going to pull up all of the counties for you in Maryland. And you simply add the ones that you need from these documents on mdrealtor.org. If you're licensed in a different jurisdiction, you just add the documents that you need from that jurisdictional source, whether it be Zip Forms or one of the state sites, then you just add it right to your Brokemint account. And the way that you would do that is just as we've done here. If you were simply, let me go back to the transaction let's see which one, I have a number of them open there. There we go. Okay, so if I wanted to click on use forms, if I have downloaded something, what I went through the first time is add more forms, which is going to give us the company library and what Brokemint has provided to us in MAR. But if they're not forms that are going to be added from there, I can simply go to add a document or attach a document. And this is where I'm going to download from either mdrealtor.org, Zip Forms, or another association, and I will have it right there on my computer in order to upload it directly into my file and my checklist so that everything continues to flow seamlessly there. Did that answer your question, Aurelia? All right, you can unmute yourself if you.
Yes, it did. That was great. Thank you.
You got it. And Dee is reminding us, thank you, Dee. We did make that seamless for you guys. You can go directly there from your Brokemint checklist. Let me see where I have it open. I will actually just open up another page because I want those.
It's actually in the dashboard, Jasmine. It's one of the links on the dashboard.
It's one of the links on the dashboard. So you go to your Brokemint dashboard, and we have added a number of these links for you guys. That way you, well, first it starts with your training videos, Porterhouse Realty Group, Boomtown, the auction website. You see mdrealtor.org, DC documents or DC board, continuing education, VA board. All of this is right there for you in your Brokemint dashboard.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, you are so welcome. Thanks for asking the question, because I don't think that we can share it too much because somebody, you know, somebody else is going to ask the same thing. So for all of you that are on training, you are tasked with sharing that information with either of your colleagues who were not here to get it today. Okay, so we do our best to make it convenient for you guys. So we captured the sites that you're going to need most, and we put them right there in the dashboard for you. So you can access them from there or externally like everybody else does.
Miss Porter.
Yes. Hello, Anita.
Hello. And this was a while back when we were doing this same training. You were saying that, is there some, so say for instance, we, you know, get this document that we find that perhaps maybe we need more than one time. How is there a way that we can add that to our library so that we don't have to keep going out every time?
You absolutely can. So that is an excellent question. Is there another part to it?
No, that was it.
Okay, if there's a document that I see or a jurisdiction that I see you guys need over and over again, then I will add it to the company library. If you don't see it in the company library, because maybe not a lot of people need it, shoot me an email, shoot Mr. Porter an email and say, hey, this is something that we need over and over again. Can you add it to the company library? If you may be working in a jurisdiction that may be foreign to some of your colleagues, keep it saved on your computer. That way you can always add it directly from your laptop into your transaction, okay?
Got it.
That was an excellent question.
I don't know, Jasmine, if the agents can, but I would want somebody to look in their account, because our accounts are a little different than you guys, to see if there's the ability to make some of those forms that you might be using on a regular basis templates for you. Because that's something that would be helpful for those of you who have to use board documents that are not that familiar with everyone else more often. So I don't know if your section, maybe that's something that I can have turned on so that you can actually make templates, but I need somebody to check who's familiar with Brokemint, check and see if there's a section for you guys to go in and make templates.
Okay.
That is an excellent suggestion, because that's what we do with some of these documents that aren't already interactive. Mr. Porter and I, we make them templates so that they're interactive for you. But anything that you upload to the system as a PDF, you'll simply need to add the hyperlinks and everything so as to be able to type into it. All right. So if somebody can check on that so that the group will know, that'll be tremendous information. And while we wait for that, I wanted to add a piece of information here because Angela said something that was very important. She was talking about the order of the listing checklist. I want to let you guys know how to arrange your order. The way that you arrange the order, well, first of all, this is the standard order that it comes in because there have been no dates added to the transaction. So without any dates, it's going to come in the standard order from beginning to end, from adding the client's information all the way down to removing the lockbox from the property. Once you add, however, your dates, then it's going to organize things for you based on the dates that you put in as your listing date. So if today is our listing date, today is the 9th, correct? If we have our, let's say our listing date was yesterday and our acceptance date for the contract, let's just put that as today. And we're going to put our closing date as July the 8th. So now what that's going to do is it's going to organize everything right there for you based on dates, and it's going to tell you when it's due by. So you see the date on the left-hand side of the screen. It's letting you know which action item is due by which date, and it's based on what you've added into your edit field. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Yes, but what I was going to say is if you can show them what the back office looks like for setting up where, you know, it says 2 days before and 1 day and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean? So guys, what happens is when we create these checklists, kind of like an algorithm is the way it programs it. So when we give it a task, it'll ask us when should this task be done within the timeline. So it'll be 3 days before ratification, or a week before this, or 2 days, 1 day, same day. And so I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah. And you see it says one, hold on, Jasmine. I think I messed up. Hold on. I'm sorry.
No, you're on point.
Yeah, it says where it says ratified, 1AA. That's 1 day after acceptance. So that's how it's organized, but it doesn't work unless you put dates in there. So it knows the beginning date. And so you need to have listing date and the date of acceptance, because it doesn't know when the acceptance date is, then it doesn't know how to put things in order. So you got to have, on the listing side, you have to have a listing date, and you have to have an acceptance date. And on the buyer side, no, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong, right, Jen?
No, it's okay.
You know what I mean. You can tell them on the listing side, and on the buyer side, you have to have a acceptance date and a closing date in order for that checklist to work. But for the listing, when I forget which one, it's 2 dates that you need for the listing, and it's the top two. When you go in to edit, you know, when you're going in to set it up from the beginning, the top 2 dates are for listings, and the bottom 2 dates are for buyers.
So just to elaborate a little bit on what Mr. Porter is saying, in your edit field, when you first add this listing, you're not yet going to have a closing date. And you won't necessarily have an acceptance date for the contract because you're just adding the listing. However, so as to be able to organize your checklist and have the dates by which those action items need to be fulfilled, you can simply add a placeholder there. And then once you get a true confirmed acceptance and closing date, then you come back and you add those to your transaction, okay? That's on the listing side. On the buying side, you won't ever have a listing date. You're simply going to have an acceptance date and a closing date, okay? So that's the key to organizing your checklist so that you have the dates by which specific action items need to be completed. Okay, we'll move on from there because we're covering a lot, but time is getting away from us. So that is on the listing side. Let's see where we have the buying side. Here we are. So no different on the buying side. You're going to see your checklist in the same way. When you guys add all of the client's contact information in the beginning of that, then when you're ready to assign the fields to the client in order for them to sign off on them, their information is already there, okay? Same thing goes for yourself as the agent. Always assign yourself to the transaction as the agent. And if you are working with any other Realty Pro, assign them as well so that we know, say by chance some of you partner and you split deals or whatever the case is, include that information in the beginning. With regards to the agent and the commission, Brokemint will only allow you to establish that when you first create the transaction. So after your transaction is already created, then you guys won't have access to that feature. Mr. Porter and I will have to come back and do it for you. So just assign yourself as the agent, what your commission is, if you're working with another colleague, and what their commission is in the very beginning, okay? The same thing goes for the order of everything that's on there. If you need anything, just add it. D is saying, as the buyer side rep, do you ever add the seller? No, that was a great question. So in terms of contacts, you don't need to add the seller's email address or anything like that, but you will need to add the seller's name. When you're working on the buying side of your transaction, you're going to add all the pertinent contractual information, such as the property address, the name, date, the buyer's full name, the seller's full name, and all of those things. So although you will not be adding the seller's email address or sending anything to the seller to get e-signed, you will be adding the seller's full name or names. Okay. So same thing goes here on the buying side. It's a little bit different because this is talking about ordering your home warranties and all that good stuff, having your final ALTA uploaded. And again, on the right-hand side of the screen, when you click on the action item, for those that require a little bit of instructions, the instructions are right there for you guys. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about your checklists on the listing side versus the purchase side, or anything that we've talked about thus far?
No.
Actually, I do.
Sure.
Okay.
Hello, Dee. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Well, thank you.
So working with the buyer side, when you first do your transaction edit, it always, of course, comes up as a listing. Does it ever show? Because I'm looking at my system and it's saying that a listing was created, and I was like, no, this is a buying side. So would it change to buying, or do you have to do something to do that?
So Brokemint recognizes all of them as listings. You differentiate when you get into the transaction. So you put purchase and you add the buying checklist.
Okay,
That was a good question. They do have a new feature regarding buyer transactions, but we haven't trained on that just yet. And we don't know how that's going to interact with what we currently have in place. So you guys can go and explore the new feature, but in order to use your transactions and get the same seamless kind of flow that you've already had, use the systems the way that we've made them, so that they can be convenient for you guys until you're trained on how to use the other one.
Okay, so what I have noticed with the new system is that when the buying side piece shows up, it only shows up after you've done what you have done in the regular space that we've been trained to use.
Wonderful.
After that, I still don't know, because I was like, okay, I'm just trying to get this done. I'll get back to that later.
Not a problem. That is good to know. I'm going to come on down to where it says documents and unsorted, guys, just as a reminder. Any of the documents that you upload into your transaction, you'll be able to click on documents and find it right down at the bottom. If something is needed or you need to add something, you can always add it under your document section also. If it is something that is unsorted, say by chance you have something and it wasn't necessarily contract specific, but you need to, add it, you can either click on there to drag, you can drag and drop the file in, you can upload the file, or you can email the file into your unsorted documents. Once they are in there, then you can actually add them. And this one doesn't have one there. So that one, I won't be able to show you on there, but you can literally assign the document to the checklist item so that when you go back to your checklist and you're looking for a document in its proper place, it will be in the proper place. And that's very important because when we close out the transactions, first and foremost, everything needs to have been submitted so that we can review it in advance and approve it. Then in order for us to process the payment, our system is going to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be for the sake of, just making sure that we're totally accountable and we are compliant with the board's regulations. So make sure that you guys have submitted it and make sure that everything that's requested in here is in its appropriate place so that Mr. Porter and I can find it and issue your ACH payment as quickly as possible. Okay, so I need to move on from Brokemint.
Speaking of which, Jasmine, before you move on from Brokemint, you have not gone into your accounting section and set up your ACH payment so that you can get your direct deposit. You're doing yourself a big disservice because Porterhouse no longer has checks. There's been a big thing with check fraud, so don't want to do them at all. It costs us a lot of money anytime we have to go through that process. We have to get rid of all of the checks. We've been through it a number of times during COVID, and so we're using the ACH exclusively. So make sure that you set up your ACH. If not, we'll have to wire your money to your bank account anyway, and then that's going to cost you $30. ACH is free. So just go ahead and set up your ACH if you haven't already in the accounting section. It makes everything very smooth. You'll get your, if you get your broker fees up front, we'll transfer those. If it's $20 payment, $30, whatever it is that the Porterhouse has to disperse, it makes life so much easier for everybody if you have your ACH set up. Please do that. It's in the accounting section on your dashboard on the left-hand column. You'll see it.
I will click on that real quick for you. Thank you for reiterating that, Mr. Porter. Listen, getting direct deposit is a tremendous asset. Who doesn't want their money from their commission just dropped directly into their account? That is a tremendous asset, completely convenient for you guys. Mr. Porter and I, we can pay you from anywhere. We don't have to worry about cutting a check, mailing it to you, or you don't have to worry about, well, when am I going to have a chance to get on up to the office in order to get my commission check? No, you get it right away. So follow through with those steps that Mr. Porter has already implemented there under billing. You're going to go and you're going to add the information that you need in order to get your ACH payments. All right. Mr. Porter, may I move on from Brokemint, or do you have something else?
Yes, you may. While you're moving on, I'm just going to tell everybody when you get a call, when I get a call from Curtis Price and he says, "Hey, Mr. Porter, the check you mailed me didn't come." I said, "Brother, I mailed this between you and the post office." And then we find out somebody intercepted the post office. People have been actually robbing the post office mailbox.
They have in COVID. It's been crazy.
And so, I mean, I took that check directly to the post office, and somehow it still didn't make it to Curtis's house. And the person did try to cash the check, and he had erased Curtis's name and put their name in there somehow. It's just a mess, guys. So we don't want to do that anymore.
That goes back to the intentionality piece. Everything that we do, we're doing it for a reason, and it is absolutely in your guys' best interests. Okay. So moving on from Brokemint, I want to get to a point where I can open it up for, questions about anything that you guys need, but I want to touch base on a couple other things first. With regards to myhouseporter.com, let me Let me see, Mr. Porter, you may have taken me out of the section that I already had open, which is fine because I can just scroll on back through our library and go to myhouseporter.com. So you guys know in your Brokemint library, you have a folder that says myhouseporter.com. And in your folder, you have your listing qualifications, and you also have your myhouseporter.com terms and conditions. You have your instructions and all of those things. I wanted to point out some of the, or highlight some of the details for you guys that were updated since the very first form that was put in there for the sake of clarity for all parties involved. In this myhouseporter.com terms and conditions, I'm just going to highlight paragraph number 14 really quickly with regards to the buyer's premium. The buyer's premium 3.5% is added to the high bid price to determine the final price. I want everybody to be very versed in that, be very fluent, because it's extremely simple. Of that buyer's premium, the 3.5, 2.5 of it is going to be paid to the buyer's agent, and 1% will be paid to the myhouseporter.com platform. So that is given to the seller in advance on their purchase price. And then at settlement, it's going to be debited from the seller's purchase price, that 3.5%, and it's going to be dispersed exactly the way that it is listed. That 2.5% going to the buyer's agent for their compensation, and 1% going to the myhouseporter.com platform. Okay. Another thing with regards to this is that the buyer pays all of the transfer and recordation taxes as it pertains to the myhouseporter.com terms and conditions. So unless the buyer and the seller have agreed to something else, you want to make sure that you highlight those things. Okay. Another thing for you guys really quickly with regards to the instructions to add your listing to myhouseporter.com. A number of you have used the platform already and you have had tremendous success. So kudos to you. If you have not used the platform just yet, I want to highlight paragraph number 6 here, where it says, if this is your first time adding a listing to the myhouseporter.com platform, then you'll need to register on the site under bidder registration. So I'm just going to show you that real quick. So on myhouseporter.com, you see on the right-hand side of the screen where it says bidder registration. If you've never added a listing to myhouseporter.com, this is the way that you'll be able to this is the way that we'll be able to establish you listing privileges. Okay. So you click on that bidder registration, you put all that information, you assign a password, confirm it, put your email address in there, and then you're going to send us an email. When you send that email to Mr. Porter and myself, then we will know to go ahead and initiate your privileges on myhouseporter.com so that you can create listings in the future without having to come through Mr. Porter and myself in order for us to have you to get established there. That's going to take about 24 business hours to complete. Most times, if it happens during business hours, it'll be done very quickly, but you definitely want to do it during business hours. Now, once your listing privileges are established, then you'll be able to create your listing on the myhouseporter.com platform. Okay. So I just wanted to highlight that for you guys. It's in your instructions, and that was added after the very first instructions were included in that library for you. So I just wanted to highlight those updates that were made so that in the event that you guys had any questions, you have it there. So you're going to have it because we're sharing it. You have it on the training, the video, and the instructions as well in case you need anything. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, then I'm going to jump right on to Boomtown because I want to give you guys some free time to ask questions, but I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible. So on Boomtown, if you have not completed your training, you absolutely want to go to your training section under support, click on training, and complete all of your training action items, guys. Because there were first 3 that were due within the first 30 days of us being on the platform. And then there is a robust library of training topics for you guys. And we want to make sure that you are maximizing this platform to its fullest, because there are so many things that go beyond our fundamental training that are really going to make your life easy and really be a tremendous resource to your buyers, to your sellers, and to you guys for your marketing and everything. So I just wanted to go there to show you guys. Hopefully you downloaded your Boomtown Now app and your telephone number and all of that good stuff. So that was the housekeeping that I wanted to get through for today. I am going to stop this share for now. And I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you guys have questions about anything that we've discussed, if it's something that you need us to discuss, now it's your turn.
Jasmine.
Hello, Aurelia.
Hi. I just wanted to say I'm happy to be back. I did have some, situations with my dad, but everything is stable now. But I stopped. I want to take the 3-day training again because I stopped right at the initial part of the 3 days training and setting up everything. I even got to the point of the contact list. I never completed that. I've been going back and forth with them because they keep saying that it is added with the Brokemint agent list and they can't re-add it on mine. So I'm trying to get that resolved. I called someone on Monday and they told me he was going to call me back. I haven't gotten the call back. But I want to start first with, I'm going to take the training all over again so that I could just kind of be fresh on what I'm supposed to be doing and then go from there.
Excellent. First and foremost, welcome back, Aurelia. We are so glad to have you back. I know you were working through some challenges there. We're glad to know that your dad is doing well. And listen, I think it's a great idea to do all of those trainings multiple times. I did the first 3 at least 2 times, and I think 2 of them I did 3 times. And I think that that's required for, well, at least for me, I need repetition. I need to hear something, a couple times in order to make sure that you're getting all of the juice out of it, if you will. So that's a great idea for you. Another thing I wanted to just reiterate to you guys, when Boomtown first pulled our contact list, they pulled the master contact list and put it under the broker's account. So some of you were not able to have your contacts added because they had put it all under the broker's account. Okay. Now, that being said, as soon as we found out, they completed that within 48 hours. So it took them 48 hours to back everything out of my account and to only include the ones that are supposed to be in my account. So then the other ones are now available to be uploaded. So if you guys reached out to them and you noticed that that's what happened in the beginning, if you had some difficulty with having your contacts added, that is what happened, and they have that notated on file and they have corrected it. So they should be able to add all of your contacts without any issues whatsoever.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Any new insight or something that was maybe reinforced that you say, okay, well, I'm glad you touched base on this, or, I wasn't sure about that, or whatever the case is. I went through a lot, probably all in one breath.
Thank you, Miss Jasmine. Okay, so this is Dee, and
Hello, Dee.
thank you. And we had a conversation yesterday about my forgetting the checklist and forgetting to move things over, which I do regularly, but that day, I guess I was under so much pressure, I didn't do that. And then the next one was so much easier because I did what I usually do. So please do that. It just makes it so much more, it's just much more efficient when you just go through the checklist and download everything according to what's already there. That was the comment. The question was, I've been going through lately and I keep forgetting to ask, how do we do the admin fee now since we no longer deal with checks?
So your admin fee, what do you mean? How do you get paid the admin fee, or how does the buyer pay the admin fee?
How does the buyer pay the admin fee?
So when we say we no longer do checks, go ahead, Mr. Porter.
No, I was gonna say we can receive checks.
Yes.
But
We just
Okay.
don't pay commission checks.
Okay, so then
yeah.
we can have them send that check to the office, which is what we were doing, but we should be very careful about that because things are being stolen.
So not send.
No, they can drop it off.
Yes.
They can drop it. They can drop it off. And we'll make sure we get it. We have a drop box. We check it every day. So we'll get any checks dropped off. Yeah.
So the drop box is set up so that they can put it in?
Let me clarify for you. So We receive checks from buyers every single day for their earnest money deposit and for their brokerage fee. They can either wire it or they can turn it in their certified funds or cashier funds to the office. If you guys are not able to collect it from them and bring it into the office, which is preferred, the buyers can drop it off themselves at the office. There's a black drop box on the left-hand side of the office. When you walk on up to it, they can simply slide it in there, and they need to include in there who it is from, what property is for, and all that good stuff, so that we will be able to know who to credit that, not only the earnest money deposit, but the brokerage fee too. So make sure that they include more than just a check. They should be putting it in an envelope and putting the specifics of the transaction so that we can, properly disperse those funds.
Okay, that's very clear. Thank you. So we can collect it directly,
Absolutely.
or we can ask them to take it to the office, or we can take it to the office.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it. But always make sure that
Yes,
we know.
and-
So if a buyer is depositing, if they're bringing it, go ahead.
D, I was gonna say, and when you bring it to the office, there's a white drop box on the inside, right next to the kitchen, in the Upper Marlboro office, right next to the kitchen. There's a new white drop box that looks just like the black one outside. So the outside one is for our clients when we're not there. The white one is for you guys to drop it off. You don't have to put it in my mailbox or slip it under the door anymore. As soon as you go into the Excellence Center, you'll see a white drop box that looks exactly like the black one. You can drop it in there, and we'll check both of them every day.
Okay, that's a recent addition, or I missed it when I was there this week?
It's been there for some months.
It's been up for about 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, thank you very much.
You are so welcome. And Christian, I see you have your hand up. Hello,
Yes.
Christian.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Well, thanks. How are you today?
Good. Great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Just a comment. I realize that the checklist, whenever it is due, you usually get notification, email notification that you have so and so that is due, and they keep counting the number of days that you probably are supposed to do it that you have not done it. And I think that is really cool because so long as you're checking your email, you will always know that there is something you're supposed to do in a timely fashion that you've not done. Thank you.
You are so welcome. And thank you for reminding everybody of that. That is meant to be kind of like AI in a sense. You have a reminder, you have it in Brokemint, your checklist, but you're also going to get a nice email so that you're always on target with what you need to do for your transactions. So thank you for just reminding us of that, Christian.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or anything with regards to all the housekeeping stuff that we went over today?
Ms. Porter, I have a question. And if it's going to be too involved, I can talk to you afterwards. But I'm kind of a little bit confused when it comes to the My House Porter. In one regard, I'm trying to set up a listing. Want to do it through My House Porter. Did not want to do a lockbox, but I understand that we still have to have the lockbox addendum signed. Okay, so even though we're not going to have a lockbox, we still have to do that even through My House Porter. And then the second thing I wanted to make sure I was on point with is that the listing price on all of our documents when we're going to use My House Porter should be the listing amount that we're going to do on My House Porter, if I'm understanding that right. So whatever the CMA or whatever we're going to use, we're taking 15% off of that. Okay, and then that's the amount that we're listing as our starting bid price. But we're putting that amount in the documents because one of my client wanted to know, well, wait a minute, why are we asking so low when you and I spoke about the amount being another amount, and she's seeing all this in documentation, and I was trying to explain to her that that's the way that we're doing it because we're using the My House portal. So I just wanted to make sure I had that right, and I explained that to her right. But even though it says there on the documents, there was another place in there that did say the amount that we're really going for, I think. And is that making sense?
It's making perfect sense. And you just explained everything perfectly, Kermon, so I didn't hear any confusion. Don't second guess yourself.
Okay.
You are spot on. So yes and yes to both of those questions that you asked.
Okay. Wow. I got that right? Okay.
You sure did.
Can you elaborate though, Jasmine? Can you break it down for
Yeah,
everybody
I
else?
was just
so
getting
we
ready to say, I
can
hope
follow?
Mr. Porter heard that I got that right. Now he said,
Absolutely. So as it pertains to your lockbox addendum, first and foremost, it is required for every single porterhouse listing that you do, whether it's allowing showings or not. There is language in that lockbox addendum that covers you, that covers your brokerage, and that covers all involved in the real estate process. Should a buyer go into a house that doesn't belong to them or the brokerage, it belongs to the seller. So there's an indemnification clause that's in that lockbox addendum that is crucial to making sure that we are not held responsible for anything that happens inside of that house or
Okay.
to anybody that goes inside of that house. So
Okay.
whether or not the lockbox is on the property or not, it's one of those requirements that we use. Okay. So as
Okay.
pertains to that aspect. And then for your listings, right? For your myhouseporter.com listing, you have your, as Kermon said it so eloquently, you have one that's going to be your seller's goal, if you the seller's goal that you're going to see when you do your market analysis. Say by chance the property is going to be worth $550,000. You say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on what we're seeing, the average price of this property in this area, in this condition, you should be able to net somewhere around $550,000. We cannot guarantee that price, but based on these comparables, this is what we're seeing. The qualifications for this platform is to reduce the price by 15% so as to put it on the auction website and trigger the competition for the property. So the price that it's going on the auction website for is not the sales price. It is the starting bid price. So your seller has every right to say, hey, Kermon, what my goal is, based on your market analysis, it's around 550. So my goal is to get around 550 for my property. And when you reduce that price using that strategy on that bidding platform or on the auction platform, as you guys can see in your listing presentation, you're going to maximize exposure to buyers in the market. As we see with 15% less than, the market average, you're going to open that up to 80% of the buyers who are in the market. And I don't have time to go through it in detail today, but the way you want to explain it to them that this is a pricing strategy intended to trigger bidding and competition for your property so as to get you the highest and best value. It's the starting bid price. It's not your sales price. The sales price is what's going to be on your contract. Okay. So on that contract, whatever that high bid amount is that the seller accepts is going to be that plus some more on top of it for the buyer premium.
okay. You got it. Yeah. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Great questions, guys. Great questions. Great insight there. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? All right. If you guys are finished with questions and comments, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.